shoulders over them getting gentlemen swept. It seems unfair.
No, what's unfair was Darius Garland's toeing.
Oh, he missed one game.
Was Evan. No, he missed 2.
Oh, he missed 2.
Garland missed 2.
Sorry.
And before this series, I get it, he was out in the first round.
I mean,
we all thought Garland was going to play.
This is shameless.
Right? We all thought he was going to play. I just couldn't lose in this series.
Yeah, right. Good for you, buddy.
You're right. I mean, it's so
Nap
Town. Okay. We here, baby, and I'm telling you.
We're going to Indy.
Quickly, they remind me somewhat of the Thunder. Like, this is the era, Nick. We're in the era of the teams. Like, in the 70s, you had 8 teams win championships, right? Then, Magic and Bird dominate. Then Jordan dominate. Yeah, dynasties. And now, this will be, assuming Boston loses, but this will be the 7th straight year we got a different champion.
And nobody even coming close to defending their title.
Right. Not even getting to the conference finals.
Correct.
And they remind me of OKC because they both, Ty Halliburton isn't as good as SGA. But I think he's a star, and maybe he'll become more than that. But he's great. Your second guy is kind of Siakam, and I think Jalen Williams are similar level of play, good. They go 10 deep, just like OKC.
They're deep.
They're not playing the huge minutes either. Their guys are in the 30-minute, mid-30s, and, they don't play the defense.
No, but I was going to say, playing them is unlike any other team on your schedule. Playing OKC is like that because every single guy they put out on the court can defend, and they can have a 5-man bench unit on there if you're OKC, and it's like all these guys can defend. Yep. Playing them is different because they're like, what if we just played as if the shot clock was 8 seconds? You know what I mean? And that we are going against all of the conventional wisdom, which is the game slows down in the playoffs. Like, not for us.
Right.
And you saw it last night where Donovan was gassed. Donovan missed 3 straight free throws. Like, the Cavs were absolutely gassed. By the way, from a statistical perspective, Donovan missing 3 straight free throws, less likely than the Mavs winning the lottery, so I'm sure that was rigged too, guys. I am not dismissing them either, and I think Halliburton deserves a ton of credit. I do think, though, because they keep going, we're going to get more time to talk about Indy. I want to talk about Cleveland for a second. Because you can't run it back. You can't expect, it to be different. You do have right now a massive opening in the Eastern Conference because Giannis might be on the move, and Tatum, sadly, we now know what we feared yesterday, which is torn Achilles, which probably means next year's gone. And even if New York were even to win the championship, nobody's looking at them like, we can't beat them. Right, and I give New York a ton of credit, but it's still, one team you're talking about in the East as opposed to 10 in the West.
Absolutely.
And their starting small forward, much like their previous starting small forward when they were down 3-1, sent a group text along the lines of, if you don't think we can do it, don't get on the plane. Now, the previous small forward responded to that by himself having the greatest 3-game stretch in the history of the league. This small forward responded to it by going 0 for 9 and scoring 0 points.
It was tough.
Sorry, Max Strus. It is what it is.
Thought was in the right. Heart was in the right.
Right. Yeah. So which I say this. Just go home, Bron.
I mean, it's interesting.
It's from the area. It's year 23. No one can say he's front running. They haven't, in the entirety that the Cavs have existed, they've never been past round 2. Except for when he's been there and they've lived in the finals. There was a lot of, chatter this year. Is this the best Cavs team ever? Is this the most fun Cavs season ever? How fun is it now? How fun was, and by the way, it happened like this. They won their first round series by more points than any team in the history of the league.
They looked like they were going to win the East.
And Donovan, who made, there you go, who made, I think, even in defeat, a compelling club superstar case, is now on this very weird streak of every year he's been in the league, he's been in the playoffs, and every year it's ended before the conference finals. It can only happen if Bron is willing to play for close to nothing. But
Yeah,
man,
Cleveland can't even trade.
No,
they can't aggregate.
No,
players
so it would really just have to be him being like, you know what? I did my job in LA. I brought them a championship and helped them get the player that they then used to get the next, the next iteration of Laker basketball. No one can say I gave him 7 years, more than I think anyone realistically expected. And I think as great as Luka is, I think Bron has a better chance of winning a championship playing with the Cavs. Not because the Cavs would necessarily be better, but because they would have to win 2 tough rounds in the playoffs, the conference finals and the NBA finals. And the Lakers, the West is just so deep and so hard.
Look, if LeBron went back there, I don't see this happening. I don't see LeBron going for the minimum. I don't see him leaving the Lakers. But if it did, and they didn't have to lose Mobley, if the Cavs could aggregate players and trade, say, Garland and Mobley for LeBron, I wouldn't do that.
No,
I would not do that.
No, because he's
the
41.
Lakers, I would do that.
Of course.
That'd be great.
No, but he's 40. I'm talking about LeBron opting out and signing there.
They would be easily, to me, the favorite in the East.
Yeah.
Easily. Because they're still, and again, the injuries aren't an excuse because it was guys were. I think Indiana would have won this the way it's looking anyway. But put LeBron in there,
in
a guy that won't melt down like some of these guys did. He brings them more toughness. They're not a tough team, which is odd for Cleveland. Cleveland's a tough city. They're not a tough team. He would bring some toughness.
They don't need Bron in the regular season. He could.
Well, he's going to play, though.
No, he's going to play, but my point is he maybe can keep it closer in third gear if you're not fighting for, seeding or stay out of the play-in or all that stuff because they just won 64 games.
And the fact that now he's playing, it used to be a fear of, well, if LeBron comes in, everything's got to change. Not anymore. He showed he can play off the ball with Luka. He could let Donovan still be the guy and play.
Brew, you're so good at TV and analyzing basketball. You're like, I don't think this is going to happen. Boom, boom. They're not tough. They're not tough.
Yeah. Bron, it'd be great. And he'd have a legitimate chance at getting fired. There's no doubt.
There's a legitimate chance and one of the coolest.
I just don't think he's taking the minimum.
Just one of the coolest storylines ever in sports.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say ever because he's done it. That was the cool one.
Well, yeah, but if he did it,
it'd be nice, but. Yeah, I mean, the first one was the one.
All right, finally, let's head to Boston, where the Celtics are favored by almost 5, even though they'll be without Jason Tatum, who had Achilles surgery yesterday. Celtics were 8-2 without Tatum this year, but most of those games were against non-playoff teams. And the Knicks, of course, won both games in Boston already in this playoff. So are you surprised that New York are the underdogs?
No, I'm not surprised because America's been listening to folks like Kevin Wildes who just say the Knicks are lucky frauds, and is tweeting out
2 normal games
and
1-1.
2 right, exactly right.
1-1.
You're right. 2.
You just threw out games 1 and 2.
No,
2 normal games.
No, that's
in normal games are 1-1.
So that's fine. And so even by that analysis, if the teams in 2 normal games were 1-1. And now one of those teams is without their best player by a lot.
Wild
you would
card
think,
game.
Hold on. But Wildes, Brew, you don't follow him on Twitter.
No.
He's tweeting out clips not about this game, but about this series from the 04 Red Sox, saying who was it talking in the clip?
Kevin Millar.
Kevin Millar saying, "Don't let us win. Don't let us get one." Well, they already got one, Wildes.
We're already ahead of schedule.
And so, listen, Wildes still thinks Boston's going to win this series.
I'm not sure they're going to win the series.
Okay, I'm glad you're not
But
sure.
the idea that everyone's like, well, the Knicks are just moving on, I don't think that's fair for a few reasons. One, just in general, if they give out an award for the best bench player called the Sixth Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Celtics have that. So automatically, if you had to pick all the teams, boom, we take that. 2, the one thing that I like Jason Tatum, the ball has stuck. Even when Tatum gets hot, the ball sticks with Tatum. So I think tonight, my prediction is less isolation. This postseason, passes, the Celtics are last. Assists, second to last. ISOs, first. Dribbles, I don't even know what this stat is.
Dribbles per touch.
Dribbles per touch, that's 2 points. That's Harden-esque. It's too many. So less pounding the ball. I think the ball is going to move around a little bit. It's going to be less superstar Tatum focused. and add a little bit of a Jaylen Brown game, a little bit of a Derek White game, Porzingis, a little extra dose of
I hope you got your
that in
talks
there.
through.
Porzingis. Well, look,
5.5. I'm not the only person. It's 4.5.
I actually think there's a good chance Boston wins tonight.
Okay.
And then the Knicks close them out in 6. They could, they want to rally behind Tatum being injured.
A little bit of that?
The Knicks subconsciously,
Sure.
maybe
The
there's
Celtics
a,
obviously
like a
can
wall.
win tonight.
Take a breath.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so I guess, can I just button it with this? You seem, I feel like, more optimistic. This is not an anti-Tatum thing. But if the Celtics had lost Game 4 the way it was looking like they were going to lose,
Yes.
and Tatum hadn't been hurt, and it was just, they just lost. And the story yesterday was not where we're really focused on the injury. It was the Celtics blew it again. Another big lead. The Knicks walked them down. This time, they didn't take a one-pointer overtime. They beat them by a lot.
Yeah.
I think the whole analysis today would be, the Knicks have proven they can overcome the big deficits, and clearly they're the better team in the clutch. So I
That's fair.
feel like you feel almost with more optimism post-injury than we would have been in the alternate universe where they lose that game the way it looked like they were going to lose with 3 minutes left.
I just never like when you write a team off.
I'm not writing them off for the game.
I'm not saying
they're
you, but
fairly written off for the series.
No less win tonight. Cowboys, Chiefs on Thanksgiving. Ooh. Is there a chance the Chiefs can become America's team? That's next on FS1, the Fox Sports Radio on Sirius XM.
Has anyone seen my other flip-flop? Where on